Your sister did something terrible behind your back. A family member helped them with her. I'm about to expose something that has been concealed in the shadows for far too long, so lean in and don't scroll away, my little kid. If you stick with me through to the very end, you will discover what they never intended for you to know. Every word you are about to hear is full of truth. This message is not merely another one. Heaven decided to present this knowledge to you right now. Whispers behind doors, glances exchanged when they thought you weren't looking, and activity in your house have all occurred. Your sister crossed a line that will never be undone because of her jealousy and restless nature. However, she wasn't alone on this journey. She was being guided, encouraged, and pushed toward betrayal by the hands of another family member. Remain here. You will miss the signals that heaven has been attempting to send you for days if you let go. It wasn't a coincidence that you had restless nights, felt unexpected tension in your chest, or felt uneasy for no apparent reason. These were sirens and alarms from above, attempting to get you ready for the reality that lies ahead. Their behavior wasn't merely an error. It was an intentional attempt to violate a sacred aspect of your existence. They covered it up with rehearsed grins, gentle remarks, and family meals when everything seemed normal, but the atmosphere in the room conveyed a different message. You could not have imagined the unsettling silence you experienced upon entering. The air was heavy with remorse. The guilty ones believed that they could hide this behind laughing and the passing of plates during Sunday dinners, but secrets breathe and find a way out through even the smallest gaps. When they smiled too brilliantly, you felt a slight change, a chill close to your heart, and a tug in your soul that wasn't your imagination but rather a compass pointing to what they were trying to conceal. Now, keep your eyes steady because every little thing you saw, misplaced keys, a hidden text, the way a chuckle vanished as soon as you walked into the room, was a breadcrumb left by reality itself. They arranged this like performers practicing a play, picking trustworthy moments, softening their edges with words, and picking someone close enough to the family to make suspicion look ridiculous. The family member who assisted them is not unfamiliar with your kitchen or your childhood pictures, but a hand that once supported you is now supporting a scheme to disturb your tranquility. Because it occurred from close proximity, from hands that once held yours and now conceal secrets. The betrayal is more profound. You may have convinced your head that you were overly sensitive and blamed yourself for the strain, but your body continued to score in dreams where doors opened to unfamiliar rooms, sleeplessness, and abrupt chest heaviness. These physical realities serve as evidence that the spirit detects dishonesty before the mind does. Respect your body's advice and allow it to direct the bravery you'll need to proceed. They chuckled about how easily love can be turned into a weapon when it is shared with the wrong people, and they murmured about strategies to shield themselves from repercussions while they planned the destruction they caused you. They rehearsed versions of events that portrayed them as victims of misfortune rather than creators of suffering, fabricating tales behind closed doors to conceal the truth. For them, this was not a time of weakness. It was a coldly deliberate decision. Instead of using that rage as poison, use it as a candle. Instead of consuming it, let it illuminate. When directed toward truth and healing, rage can be a powerful ally, but when it is constantly replayed in your head, it turns into a vicious cycle. Utilize it to motivate the actions you need to take, compile the information, jot down every recollection as though it were inscribed on stone, and meticulously document the periods and instances that were strange. There will be pressure to smooth the edges so that everyone can continue to pretend, and there will be voices calling for silence because family must be preserved. At first, those voices will seem rational and insignificant, but they are the same ones that make survival more difficult and treachery probable. Choose reality over appearance and clarity over convenience to preserve your tranquility, since concealing the truth will always come at a greater cost in the long run. When you face this, do so with the authority of someone who has kept a ledger of truth and has been up through the nights. Talk steadily and slowly. Don't give them back control by apologizing for the discovery. Instead, let your voice be the gauge of the weight you bear. Your strength is in identifying what transpired and refusing to allow their deceit to change your narrative, not in shattering them. There will be unexpected allies. A message hidden in a forgotten folder that was never intended for prying eyes, a neighbor who saw the late footsteps, and an old friend who recalled a conversation that suddenly makes sense. These tiny lights will cluster about you like stars, creating a map of the things they intend to destroy. These witnesses will transform isolated suspicions into indisputable truth, so cherish them. While you develop your case, keep your heart safe, because expressing all of your pain at once would simply wear you out. As you decide what to disclose and when to say it out loud, let a trusted someone who is not involved in the complex web of familial loyalty support you. A steady witness allows you to experience emotions without descending into the mayhem they intended. There is a time for mourning, and lamenting what might have been is a faithful tribute to the life you believed you were leading rather than a sign of weakness. Take a seat with that sadness. Let the grief become a doorway rather than a tomb, and let it carve out the space you need to determine how you will rebuild. Heartbreak gives rise to intention. The desire to defend, establish limits, and recover what is rightly yours. Start with concrete actions that restore your agency, since they will anchor your spirit. Make copies of everything that demonstrates their involvement, take pictures of proof, safeguard crucial documents, and change passwords. These behaviors are not trivial. They serve as the foundation for your security and the first line of defense against lies in the future. Don't allow them to exchange your silence for humiliation. Those who try to use your humiliation as an excuse for their behavior are only attempting to shift the blame. Shame was never yours to maintain. Speaking the truth into light and refusing to play the scapegoat in someone else's narrative can help you regain your dignity. There can be attempts to deceive you by claiming that things happened differently, that you misremembered, or that you are exaggerating. When those attempts occur, ground yourself on the proof you gathered and your body's unwavering testimony. When faced with patience and evidence, reality will triumph over their tales because it is stubborn. In the aftermath, you will discover that strength manifests itself in more subdued decisions, such as declining to participate in deceptive apologies, selecting gifts for those who genuinely care, and abandoning harmful customs that are passed off as family traditions. You don't have to slam every door. Some just need to be kept closed while you construct a new space where truth can reside. When you speak to your sister, let your voice be tough yet gentle, since anger will flare up and silence will hurt you even more. Let the universe determine how their conscience will react when you speak your truth without drama and share what you know. The goal is integrity repair rather than destruction, and sometimes restoration necessitates a clean break in order for healing to start. You don't have to push forgiveness, it's a horizon you may or may not reach. If forgiveness is offered, let it be a voluntary choice rather than a demand made of you by those who are afraid of the repercussions. For the time being, take care of your limits and wait to see how mercy manifests itself. Remain steadfast in the understanding that betrayal does not diminish your value or change your past with shame as its hallmark. You deserve love, respect, and a life based on the truth, and you still do. Your demise won't be determined by the suffering they caused. You will read this chapter, put it down, and go on to a fresh start. Seek advice from an unbiased person who can help you sort through legal alternatives, emotional support, and spiritual grounding, and who is aware of the seriousness of familial betrayal. Good advice will provide you with tactics that feel reasonable and protecting, and practical wisdom is like a stronghold that keeps the heart firm during storms. Be in the company of friends and experts who respect your narrative without downplaying its gravity. On the days when everything seems too loud and your chest tightens, remember to take a deep breath. In the middle of weighty things, breathing is permission to stay alive. Breathing calmly and steadily is a protest against the fear they attempted to instill in you. Taking care of your breath is how you assert that you are first and foremost your own property. There will be times when you feel lonely and the house's silence seems to be louder than the accusations. In those moments, keep in mind that being alone here is a reclaiming of space for truth rather than abandonment. Fill it with healing music, educational materials, and non-performing faces. Now is the time to curate your life with those who choose to stand in light rather than shadow. Take your time unmasking. Timing can shield you from more harm, so be careful and thoughtful about when and how you share what you know. You should distinguish between scared silence that is imposed upon you and strategic silence that you own. This distinction will protect your steps until the truth is made evident. Don't let anyone rush you, instead, follow your gut when it comes to pacing. The community will eventually see what you have carried alone when their masks come off, and that realization will be like a daybreak. The subsequent cleansing will provide space for those who belong to your future rather than your past, but the aftermath will be messy and the mending will be gradual. Honesty will lead to the formation of new alliances, and you'll discover that a life founded on truth has a different, more subdued joy. One day you'll realize that the betrayal was the difficult lesson that taught you to choose friends based on character rather than proximity, and the anguish was the fire that tempered your courage. That gives the pain a purpose that fosters discernment and a clear heart, but it does not lessen the pain. Instead of using that lesson as a chain, use it as a shield. Now take a deep breath and do what is necessary for your security, your honor, and the people who genuinely care about you. You are better prepared than you realize for the route ahead, which will require patience and routine on both a practical and spiritual level. Choose your allies wisely, walk this route with purpose, and let the calm persistence of truth to guide your life instead of their cries for dominance. When the effort of presenting the truth wears you out, take a break and, if assistance is given honestly and consistently, accept it without question. When your legs lose their ability to stand, the correct hands will help you stay upright. Healing is never a single endeavor. Let go of those who come merely for the show, and cling to those who arrive steadily. Truth has a way of clearing rooms and creating place for fresh air, so one day the house will seem lighter and the air will no longer carry the burden of concealed things. Although it won't completely remove all of your scars, that cleansing will transform your days such that trust is once again earned rather than taken for granted. With caution and optimism, make your way toward that room that has been cleared. Don't break this vow. The way you recovered your story and rebuilt your life will define you, not what was done to you. With tiny, consistent acts of self-care, proof acquired, courage maintained, and friends who won't allow dishonesty to remain unchecked in your home, stand in that promise. Your courageous decisions will shape the future. When you are prepared to speak, do so with the clarity of someone who has seen the dark and is now choosing the light. Describe what transpired, lay out the details like a map, and then take a step back from the ensuing drama. Let peace serve as the yardstick for your next actions, and let truth serve as your witness. You weren't supposed to handle this on your own. As you decide what the next chapter will be, let others hold portions of it alongside you. When secrets are taken from the altar of family and placed in the court of consequences, where responsibility can be fulfilled, healing occurs. Pick that route, even if it shakes at first, since bravery is the ability to persevere in the face of fear rather than the absence of it. Continue breathing. Never forget who you are. And when the time comes for you to face them, present yourself as someone who has persevered and discovered how to safeguard sacred objects. Your future lies beyond the silence they fostered, and your life is not their tale to taint. With solid feet and an unwavering heart, approach it. They believed that their quiet would be sufficient to remove the evidence, yet when wrongdoing is present, silence often speaks louder than words. Every second they spent dodging your gaze was another fissure in the facade they attempted to put up, another indication that the truth was beginning to emerge from behind the lies. Heaven preserved every detail so you wouldn't forget what was done in the shadows, despite their belief that time would bury their conduct. The same guilt was shared by the family member who helped your sister, but it was covered up by phony warmth and casual talk. Their vigor carried the burden of covert plans, yet their grins concealed the traces of treachery. Even before they talked, you could sense the tension in your body and the chill that filled the room when they walked in. Together, they made a serious error. It was carefully planned, created in whispers, and carried out with accuracy. They believed that familial ties could keep you blind and that blood would protect them, but fate won't allow deceit to triumph. Since light always finds a way into the dark, their deed has now become the germ of their demise. The veil is about to be entirely pulled apart as you stand on the brink of a discovery. Your restless evenings will soon make sense. Every unresolved emotion will align like stars pointing to a single truth, confirming your doubts. The house itself won't feel the same once what they attempted to bury rises. This fact will weigh heavily on the night, but you won't give in to its pressure. Rather, you will emerge with the kind of strength that comes from being selected to see through the masks, a strength they never anticipated. Additionally, their plans will vanish into the dust of exposure as the masks fall, giving them nothing to stand on. Every betrayal has repercussions, and there will be more than they anticipated. Their decisions will come back to haunt them like shadows in the dark, so you won't have to do anything. What they believe to be hidden will be revealed in ways they cannot stop, and what they believe to be cunning will be their downfall. Before they even say a word, you can see the terror in their eyes when you confront them. More strongly than any confession could, that terror will validate everything. And their betrayal will eventually lose its hold on your life once you realize what they did and confront it head-on. Blood treachery is the deepest hurt, but when it heals, it also gives you the most strength. You will emerge from this tempest honed, tested, and unwavering rather than broken. You are not defined by their behavior. From now on, your survival and resilience will be the real narrative. My dear kid, The flaws in their foundation are growing wider by the hour, and the shadows they cast are starting to fall apart. What they had assumed would stay secret has now grown weighty, bearing down on their conscience like an impending storm. Even though you haven't seen it yet, their actions have already started a series of events that will reveal everything. Even in her quiet, your sister's body language betrays her shame, despite her felt that it could be concealed by pretending to be caring. Observe how she avoids talking about you in conversations and how her voice becomes suddenly stiff when your name is mentioned. These don't happen by accident. They are the anxious tics of someone who has a secret that is too large to keep under wraps. The same restless energy is carried by the family member who helped her. Their presence seems like entering a room where the air is too heavy to breathe, despite their best efforts to appear normal. You've experienced those times when your chest feels heavy and your spirit tightens, as if heaven is alerting you to pay heed. Their union was formed out of weakness and envy rather than love, and those who harbor envy are always poisoned. Together, they believed they might outwit fate, but duplicity cannot trick fate. You are being led directly to the truth by the echoes of their footsteps, which are already resonating in areas they believed to be silent. They betrayed not only by their actions but also by their intentions. It was intended to hurt you, take away your tranquility, and change your life to suit their own self-interest. However, they overlooked the fact that every lie-based plan eventually crumbles under the weight of its own lies. Heaven has already selected you to bear witness to this revelation, so hold your ground. Despite the excruciating discomfort, this exposure will give you the strength you previously believed was lost. It won't take long for the people who deceived you to understand that the power they attempted to take has merely returned to you with more force. Don't let their murmurs persuade you otherwise. They will try to place the blame elsewhere, portray themselves as victims, and persuade others that you were misinterpreted. However, since the truth already resides in your spirit and cannot be silenced by manipulation, you won't fall for that. My dear child, this is not the end of your tale. It's the pivotal moment. Your strength will grow as a result of the betrayal that was intended to destroy you. When their mask eventually comes off, the world will be able to see not just who they really are but also how resilient you are. Now, every little error they make is like a nail being pulled free from the boards of their deceit, and their plan trembles like old timber under an unstoppable wind. Their eyes will search for an ally who will act as though the past never happened, and you will witness them stumble over explanations that sound staged and empty. Maintain a steady stare and observe the truth gathering in the space like light coming through a broken window. Their serenity will break in ways that are nearly breathtaking to see when the first tiny piece of evidence, a message, a receipt, a forgotten note, appears. Not only will that fracture show you what they did, but it will also show you why they believed they could leave with your life completely changed.